thank you everybody for coming out to our Open Space and Recreation Plan and Arts Plan meeting. I'm Council President Steve Winslow, and I do have to say I was involved in the last 2 Open Space and Rec plans, your participation has made a big difference in these things over the course of time. Back it would have been 2007. I came just as a private citizen, and many people turned out to talk about wanting a bike trail in Malden, and lo and behold, a few years later that happened with the help of the city, and that's the Northern Strand Trail now. And I know last plan, the 2017 plan, one of the things that came out of that plan was to look at doing stuff along the Malden River, and it's great. There's now the Friends of the Malden River and formed what they call the River Works Committee, and they have raised and worked with the city and state and federal delegations to get about $13 million to do this great park behind our DPW yard. So those are the type of things that can come out of the plans. Last night at City Council, we just voted on $500,000 to approve that, a park grant from the state. One key reason why we do this plan is we can't get that $500,000 unless we have this plan. So every 7 years, we do these plans, and the great thing is that in Malden, every time we apply for a park grant, we pretty much get it. So our demographics are very favorable in that competition. So having a plan that has projects that the community supports and are queued up, I mean, that means we'll at least get $3.5 million out of this effort. So thank you for participating, and this all makes our parks much better. And we have in the audience Councilor Colin Hayes. Raise your hand. She's on the council. She's actually representative to the Riverworks team. And then Councilor O'Malley is over here. He's been a very big impetus if you ever use Courtmore Lee Park and that type of thing, and Spot Pond Brook Greenway. So all that. So the council's here, and I know Mayor Christensen is a big supporter, and we have Alex Pratt from the city here in area as well. So they're all working to make sure we get this plan together, and they will be the folks that will then in turn help work with the mayor and all the public to get projects in queue. So thank you very much. Great.
Thank you so much, Councilor Winslow. And hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to the folks who are joining online, and thank you for everyone who's here in person here at the Mystic Valley YMCA. And thank you to YMCA for hosting us. Tonight, we have simultaneous interpretation in Cantonese and Portuguese, thanks to our interpreters Anna and Raisa over here, who are also helping us record this presentation for the future for folks who are not able to join us here tonight. Just briefly, my name is Abby Judd. I'm a Senior Arts and Culture Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and we are working in partnership with the city with Ariane Thompson and Alex Pratt, along with the steering committee that is guiding this planning process and have helped develop the vision, values, and goals that you'll see here tonight. I want to just say thank you all to the folks who couldn't be here tonight for that from the steering committee. But really just wanted to take a couple moments at the beginning of this conversation to talk about our goals for this evening. And Ariane, can you help me with the next slide? So tonight, we really hope to, first and foremost, connect with folks in the room about parks, open space, and public art, and the reasons why you all are passionate about these places. We have a lot of different elements of content that we've generated for folks to look at and engage with, but we really want to, first and foremost, connect with folks in the room and make sure we all know who's here, and also get to know folks who are working both on the city council, and also hear directly from you all. Additionally, we really want to share where we are in this process. This is a public process that is being traced both online, but also we have this outlined of what we've done thus far and what we intend to do in the future. We also really hope to hear from you all on how we can improve the draft goal language that we have thus far, and make sure that that is grounded in what we've heard thus far through community conversations, the community forum that was in June of this year, and then also from the community survey that was conducted this fall. And we also want to know what priorities you all have in terms of future park investments. We have 2 large maps over here reflecting some of the feedback that we've heard about park investments and improvements that folks would like to see, and would love to hear from you all to help prioritize those. We also know that we haven't spoken to everyone we need to speak to for this plan to be complete. So we hope that you'll be partners with us in telling us where we're missing, and connect us with folks that we haven't been able to speak with yet. And then Ariana, next one. So just to set a baseline and set an even table for everyone, just wanted to go over what an open space and recreation plan is, and also naming that this is Malden's first ever open space and recreation plan plus art, and so what that is. So yes, congratulations. Yes, that's amazing. As an arts and culture planner, it's a real honor and joy to get to work with you all on this. And just wanted to name that an open space and recreation plan, as Councilor Winslow mentioned, is really important for funding and is done every 7 years. And we also have in the room tonight a map that shows kind of all the investments that have been made in the past 7 years based on the previous OSRP in 2017. But an OSRP generally includes kind of an inventory and assessment of existing conditions and existing parks and open spaces. But the visioning process and what we're focusing on here tonight is really the community vision, the goals, and then we'll get into the objectives for the open space and recreation plan as guided by those goals. And finally, it's about the future investments and future actions that can help make sure that those goals are possible or met in the future. Additionally, we just want to name that what is open space. Sometimes that definition is a little fuzzy. So open space includes conservation land, forested land, also recreation land, agricultural lands, corridors and parks. And then for the art portion of this planning process, it really includes a lot of things, but thank you. Sorry for folks online. Please let me know can everyone in the room hear okay? Okay, great. For art, we're really focusing on this plan about public art, thinking about the events, celebrations, and activities that take place in Malden's parks and open spaces that celebrate culture and bring people together around performances and music, and also thinking about how culture is represented in all of these parks and open spaces and public space in Malden more generally, and also thinking about how these spaces serve for cultural activities and gatherings. And then also, one thing we're really trying to hone in on too is the stories about Malden that matter to you that are related to parks, and stories about why Malden is home. We recognize that arts and culture are integral into every public space, and where arts and culture happen, it tends to be in open spaces and parks where we can gather with our community members, and that there's history and inherent stories that are told about each of these places. So we really want to honor that element in going through this whole plan, which you'll see also in the goals as it's implemented all throughout. For the next slide, just want to give an update kind of on the process that we've taken thus far. So we kicked off our planning process in June of this past year with a community meeting at City Hall. Was anyone there this summer at City Hall? Got a few of you. Great. Welcome. Glad folks are here now. And then we've also had our steering committee help us with doing park assessments. So really going through and seeing what are the conditions of our parks, and also had a series of community interviews to kind of ground where we can be listening better within Malden. So that was most of the summer, and through the fall, as I mentioned earlier, we did a community survey, and did anyone take the community survey in here? Wonderful. We have all of the community survey graphically feedback here in the room as well, so folks can see some of the results of that survey. And hosted a community conversation around arts and culture in September, and then have started doing interviews with municipal staff who will be helping to go through and implement this plan as well. And I see a hand, well, go ahead.
Can someone still take the survey?
The survey is unfortunately closed at this point in time. We had it open from the beginning of September to the end of October. But if there are other ways to connect around the survey, or connect about engagement, we're trying to think about the next step of ways we can continue engagement. But thank you for that question, and ways that touch on the same questions that are in the survey. Where we are right now, we're at this community forum where we have taken kind of the information that we've collected in these first two stages and are sharing it out with you all here today, and also we'll share it out through the website as well on the process and where we are for feedback to know, are we hearing things correctly, where can we adjust, and then we want to use the rest of the winter to do additional, more focused engagement, including focus groups, and following up on any conversations that we haven't had yet that can get really specific about what specific actions and strategies we need to employ after we finalize these goals. So we will be working on drafting the plan as we're having these conversations, specifically through focus groups, and then intend to deliver a draft in March with the city to be reviewed and commented on publicly. Just a very quick note on the survey. We had over 1,000 responses for the survey, and are very grateful for everyone in the room who's taken it, and we'll follow up more on ways we can engage with folks who haven't been able to take the survey. And just a very brief snapshot, we just want to note that the survey was offered in 8 different languages. We had over 700 respondents opted in to sharing demographic information, which is pretty rare within surveys as well. And we have all of that shared in our process table over here. And then also we had strong representation from Ward 3, as folks can see, but we had nearly 10% from all wards represented in this survey responses. So all this to say, all of the survey data, and I know it was a long survey, so thank you for taking it, has been translated into the goals that you see here tonight, and really we're taking stock of everything that we've heard thus far from that survey, and are moving it into both the goals and recommended areas for actions as well. Very briefly, and I promise I'm wrapping up soon, but the way that the plan itself is organized is first off of the vision, the community vision, which we have a draft here tonight. And then we have 6 guiding values that will guide the implementation of the open space and recreation plan plus art. And then the goals, which I mentioned tonight, we have 6 draft goals for folks to review and think about. And then the next phase, which after we solidify these goal statements, is really to hone in on the strategies, actions, and the specific recommendations that you all have and that have been brought up thus far in the process. So the goals are really the containers for these strategies and actions and recommendations. So please note those. If you have thoughts about those specific actions or recommendations as you're reading through the goals, feel free to jot those down as well. We don't want to lose those, but tonight we are trying to hone in on this goal language specifically. As I mentioned, there's a draft vision statement. So the vision statement drafted with our steering committee is that Malden's park, sorry, I don't have it memorized. So our draft vision statement is Malden's parks and open spaces are well maintained, accessible for everyone, and activated through inclusive programming and recreational activities year-round. Malden's parks, open spaces, and waterways support climate resilience, activate cultural connection, and foster joy. So that's the vision statement. And
Nice.
we have some folks in the room will have pulled out pamphlets that you can see that that language is on. We also have this here if you have thoughts on how we can refine this vision as well. And then our 6 guiding values and principles for implementing the plan is first belonging, and thinking about how open space and recreation and culture and art and public art can really foster belonging in Malden. thinking about connectivity and thinking about the important role that parks and open spaces play in connecting Malden citizens, equity, and thinking about what investments are being made and which parks, that these are equitable investments throughout the city. Thinking about open space and recreation and also arts and culture is really integral to health, health being the next value. Sustainability, the next value of thinking about Malden just went through a climate action planning process and wanting to honor the climate actions that were identified through that, and also note that parks and open space are critical for identifying sustainable interventions with flooding and mitigating heat islands, and also thinking about shade in the summer and ways we adapt to climate change. And then finally, the sixth value is stewardship, of really thinking about how we're maintaining these wonderful parks and open spaces and assets that exist in Malden, knowing that they're well loved and also need a lot of love and maintenance to keep them going. So those are the vision statement and then the values, which we would love and welcome any feedback on those here in the room and online. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. And then next, just want to wrap this up for everybody with just naming the goals. So our steering committee first started off looking at what were the 2017 goals that are here, and just taking stock of what's changed since 2017. What have we accomplished? What are the things that in Malden that have shifted? And there's some really amazing wins, as Councilor Winslow was pointing out, thinking about the Malden River, thinking about multimodal transit networks, thinking about the Northern Strand Community Trail, also thinking about blue bikes in Malden. In terms of arts and culture, thinking about the gaming district, there have been a lot of investments made in the last 7 years, and wanting to build off of these goals, we've drafted a new set of goals for tonight, which is the drum roll, please. The build up for all of this is the draft goals for 2024's Open Space and Recreation Plan plus art. I know it's a mouthful. But our 6 goals that we have here, and we really welcome you all to be partners in us in editing these. Our draft goal A, they aren't numbered because we need your help in prioritizing them. The first one is to increase public awareness, outreach, and education about Malden's parks, recreation, and cultural resources. So really thinking about awareness, communication. Draft goal B is ensuring consistent maintenance plans and management policies to maintain open space, recreation facilities, and trails. So thinking about maintenance and keeping what we have clean and up to date. Draft goal C is to maintain and enhance Malden's parks, open spaces, and recreational facilities. So thinking about what can be enhanced in these spaces, what additions can be made. Draft goal D is to improve and expand access to parks, open spaces, recreational facilities, and cultural resources for all. So really thinking about who can access these spaces, both physically, but also who knows about what's happening and where that can be. Draft goal E, to protect and preserve Malden's land and water resources for climate resilience. So thinking about how are we using open space, how are we using community gardens, how are we using native plantings, and also with the Malden River, with investments, the investments going on along the Malden River, are there ways we can support climate resilience in this as well? And then finally, goal F, to provide inclusive arts and culture recreational programming that celebrates and reflects Malden's rich diversity. This is a really important one on arts and culture, but also thinking about how these parks and open spaces are activated through programming and able to be accessed through arts and culture as well. So these are our draft goals, and I'm going to stop talking here because we really want to hear from you all. We have a couple of minutes for questions, but to get back to that initial point, we want folks to connect and also give feedback on the goals that are drafted tonight and also the vision and value statements. But I'm just going to stop there. We'll maybe take a couple questions in person, and if you're online and you have questions, you can also share those in the chat. But I've got one. I'm going to hand you the mic so folks can hear.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. With goal D, where we say improve and expand access to parks, I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is environmental justice. There is not an equitable distribution of open space in the city of Malden, and I'm hoping that through this open space plan, we can actually quantify that. Like, we can add up how many acres of open space does this region have, and how many acres of open space does this region have, and then to prioritize equity and making sure that, because right now, currently, we have 5 artificial turf fields. All 5 of them exist in formerly redlined neighborhoods, and 4 of them exist within an area of 1/10 of 1 square mile.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.
Can I just respond very quickly? My name is Courtney Lewis. I'm a part of the project team at MAPC for this project. And just to respond to that, there are a series of maps that are also included in the OSRP. And one of those maps does identify environmental justice populations and looks at both climate hazards as well as social vulnerabilities. So that definitely will be addressed through the plan.
Thanks, Courtney, and thank you, Stephanie. Got another one over here.
Hi, I'm just wondering, so you said that we want to give feedback on the goals, work on the goals. How are we going to do that?
Thank you. So tonight we have here in this room set up, each of the goals are on these poster boards, and for folks online, we have a virtual process for this as well. But we have the goal statements written out, and then also have an opportunity for folks to rank them from very poor to excellent. And Courtney and I will be between these goal statements and can talk with folks, just hearing or walk folks through kind of this process over here. But we also, if there are specific edits to the language, or if you feel like the language is not accurate or doesn't feel right, we're welcoming any edits that you have directly, and you can feel free to cross through them. I know for folks in the room who have kind of the pamphlets, you're welcome to mark out specific words or kind of write in those specifically as well. We also have some space too if you wanted to leave notes over here, but we'll be collecting things written down, but that's not to say that Courtney and I are also here so we can hear directly from you. So it's a both and, but it's helpful for us to write it down just so we don't miss it as well. But yeah, thank you for that question. Thank you. It's easier for folks online to hear this way.
Hi. So thank you for this presentation. I just had a quick question on the mission, which I thought was fantastic. Who came up with that mission? Was that developed from the feedback from the first open space meeting?
So the vision language or mission language was developed with the steering committee after the first meeting. After the first community meeting in June. And that language is draft language. I should emphasize that very clearly today, that all of the language that's here is draft language, and we welcome edits to that, so please, red pens, we'll find them for you over here. But yes, that came from the steering committee, and we worked with the steering committee to kind of refine that language together. Any other?
Hi, I think one of the things I'd like to see is the words Malden River back in the goals.
Okay, great.
Because I think it's important to bring attention to Malden River. Continue to bring attention.
Thank you. Yes, and I know there's, yes. The Malden River, we didn't want to take away the attention from the Malden River, but I noted, and yes, it's an important moment for the Malden River as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From online, which some
Yes.
people can't see, but I
sure.
can say. So Lauren Online says that part of equity is accessibility. Many of our parks have very limited access for people who don't own cars and or have mobility issues. There may be nothing relevant OSPCD can do about that, but how is open space plan being integrated with the city's transportation planning?
Thank you for that question. Alex, do you want to come up for that one? I know, I'll just say that within the open space and recreation plan and plus art planning process, we are having conversations with different parts of the municipal staff, including, I think we're working to get an interview with the transportation planner, which I'll hand to Alex for context for that.
Hello everyone, Alex Pratt, Deputy Director of Housing and Community Development for the city's Office of, thank you, is that better? Great, for the city's Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development. We are hiring a transportation planner, so if you know any talented transportation planners, we want to hear from you. But we care a lot about multimodal access to our parks. And most, if not all, of our recent park projects, we've been installing bicycle parking. We've been thinking about when we do our sidewalk improvements or our safe ADA accessible intersections. We've been thinking about park access and prioritizing those intersections as well. So you might notice near Codemorley Park, for example, a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, we made more ADA accessible ramps and signals so that people who are sight or seeing or mobility impaired can safely cross the street to get to the park. So we're thinking about those types of improvements. We obviously need to do more, but it is a priority and it's something that we're working on.
The OSRP is also guided by the city's recently completed ADA accessibility and transition plan. So that is also kind of an appendix to the OSRP, and the recommendations of that plan also help inform and prioritize improvements to connectivity.
Lauren online also had another question. Just want to bring up.
Can't hear you.
Lauren online has another question to bring up.
Also, activate in quotes seems like a weird word to use about a park. What does it mean, and is there a less jargon-tastic word or words that we can use?
Lauren, I appreciate, as planners, we definitely need to be taken out of jargon. So activate, the intention behind the word activate is just to make sure that parks and open spaces are able to be used, whether that's for events, whether that's for rentals for or for birthday parties or opportunities to really see the parks in active use. But I think we can work on refining that language to make it more accessible, less jargony, and with that, we also have, we have a online survey for the folks who are not here in person, but folks who are joining online, or even if you're watching this in the future, to kind of go through and give some feedback and specific edits on the language as well. So don't worry that this isn't the only place in just the comments, but really appreciate the question as well. Are there any other questions online, Ariane? Any other questions in the room?
I guess, so is there going to be a way for those of us here and people that are not here to see this again, what you're filming now?
Yes. I'll send the recording to everyone. I'm on mic with them, but I'll send the recording to everyone that is registered and everyone that signed in today, as well as the presentation. And you can find all of this information online at cityofmalden.org/OSRP. It stands for Open Space and Recreation Plan. And yeah, all the information can be found there.
Do you mean follow-up to this, or just be able to speak?
No, just so we can see this again. In my case, I might hear more too. Oh, I'm sorry.
Doesn't help.
Yeah.
People speak well by themselves. Microphone is not relevant.
It's for people online.
It's for the people online.
But it won't help.
We don't know how it's.
I'm sorry, we have it recorded right here for the folks who are online and going through. So we'll get a better mic for the next meeting as well.
No, it's holding it. It's holding it properly.
No, I just wanted to make a comment and follow up a little bit on the transportation thing. I know the last plan, the Bike to the Sea, submitted something called Malden by Bike. So that shows connectivity across the city for bicycling. And I know we have the Spot Pond Brook Greenway going forward. I know in the Maplewood area, we're looking at trying to create some sort of connection up Maplewood and Lebanon Street to the Northern Strand Trail. And now that we have bike lanes on Center Street, there's a potential connection all the way over to Fells. So some of it is to see that, in the goals, we've lost that idea of connectivity. I mean, trails really have to be a network to be effective. I mean, just improvements around parks isn't enough to really get people to come by different ways. So I think connectivity is really important. And I think there's some opportunities to kind of extend, east-west and north-south would really help the city. So I'd like to, personally like to see that included as a goal. Thanks.
Thank you. I feel like I need to do less talking and want to connect with you all on the specifics for these goals. Wait, do we have?
Yeah, we got some
one more?
more. You guys hear more? Yeah, why not? Just to highlight some more of the questions online. Is there a pest management plan for our parks moving forward? I'd like to see a proactive plan to prevent attracting a rodent problem before it starts, as opposed to the use of harmful rodenticides like SGARs that could be deadly for wildlife, like birds of prey or even pets. Thanks, and this is from Sina Sodiel.
This is a great recommendation and a great example of a strategy that we would love to incorporate. So I'm going to we're making note of this and taking notes both in the room, and we'll have access to this afterwards. So a proactive plan for preventing pests. Thank you so much.
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
I got rid of that one, and then the other one's from Councilor Linehan. I don't know if you guys could read it.
Yes. For folks in the room, some words I would like to see incorporated are equity and welcoming. When I think about the feedback I get from constituents in our parks, it centers who belongs and who has the most access, how people are treated while there, and how people are able to get there. Pedestrian safety around our parks tends to be very poor and really limits how folks with young children, mobility challenges, or who lack a vehicle can get there. Places like Dever, Fellsmere, Amridge, and the Malden River, McDonald Stadium, Callahan, and many others are surrounded by extremely dangerous roads for pedestrians, where we've prioritized car throughput and not independence for our youth or seniors. Thank you, fabulous work. Thank you. I'm going to stop kind of going through back and forth questions. Folks online, we're going to share. I appreciate y'all being here and appreciate the folks in the future looking at this. We'll share in the chat kind of the same activities that we have here in the room. And for folks in the room, invite you to join us over here in the engagement area. We'll have Courtney and I will be over by both the goals and also the vision and values. And so would love to be in conversation about edits there. For folks who are interested in the survey output, we have a graphic representation of all the survey responses that we received, and also a snapshot of who's taken the survey. And last but not least, we also have some wonderful members from our Community Preservation Committee back here. We have Daniel Koff and Sam Waters, who are here, who have helped document where those improvements in parks have been made in the past 7 years, and then also having conversations about the Community Preservation Act surtax, which was one of the questions that was on the survey, and also a question about the Malden Parks Commission in the future to help implement this plan and also support parks in the future. There's also two last things. There is a map with all of the recommendations for future maintenance and also projects and priorities, and we need your help in prioritizing those. So go and pin a flag at the different things that are there, and if the action that you would like to see for a specific park isn't listed, you can feel free to take a note and add it to that board right over here. And then the very last one, is Malden Park Stories. We're collecting stories about Malden's parks and open spaces. And we would love if folks here in the room would be willing to come and share those with us as well. We have some prompts for folks and also have more on the pamphlet handout. But those stories will be right down this hall, right by the check-in. I'm gonna say goodnight and say thank you to everybody for tuning in, and we'll look forward to talking to more folks in person over here. Thank you all.